Legends, welcome back. In our ongoing series of the Mission Possible, this is video number 8 in our Fire series. Now, the Fire series was originally created, still being created, specifically for you legends that want to fire as early as possible and enjoy life, enjoy your family, enjoy your friends, enjoy freedom. Now, the FIRE stands for Financial Independence and Retire Early, Financial Intelligence and Retire Early, whatever's retire early. Let's get to it. All right. Now, this one was a ask or request by NYC Crypto. And like I say, I take care of every single legend, whether you're on my team, because he is not a actual member of my team. It's the fact that he is a subscriber and he is a legend. So I take care of my legends. Here you go. Mission in brief. Single fire. These are things we're going to cover. Single fire, the different fire types, coast fire, budgeting, income, and investing, and the multiple streams of income, dealing with debt, the lifestyle, your goals, defining the income requirements, setting your fire date, deciding your location that you want to fire to, because there's a lot of things that need to be done. And of course, healthcare insurance. And then of course, the top secret cell information in there specifically for my legends. Let's get to it. Now, single fire. As a single person, it's going to be easier / harder. Number one, if you're single, you don't have to confer with anybody. You don't have to make any type of joint decisions. You don't have to discuss anything. However, on the same note, if it's going to require a certain amount of income, when you have two incomes that can contribute towards the goal, that makes it easier and things can be done faster. But that being said, it's still going to be up to you to make all the decisions. Like it says here, you do not have to have a partner to fire. You can do it on your own, and maybe even faster, because you don't have to sit around and discuss things. Okay, well, we'll discuss it later. Oh no, you make the decision right now and it's done. You don't have to come to any agreements. You don't need to compromise. It's all about what you want to do as the legend in charge. And it's just meeting your goals and expectations. And you can relocate when and where you choose. Boom. Let's go. The fire types. The lean fire that person focuses on living a modest lifestyle, planning for a modest lifestyle for retirement. This one, the lean fire, just really covers the basic needs. Then you have the fat fire. It requires more savings than the lean fire. They may want extra retirement income for traveling, shopping, and things like that. So you're going to have to look at these different fire types and figure out where you are and get in where you fit in. You may be a mixture or a combination of all. The barista fire. The goal is to save enough money to retire from full-time work and enjoy a flexible work-life balance. So pretty much that barista, you just say, well, I'm going to move to Costa Rica. I use Costa Rica because that's where we used to live. And I'm going to open up a coffee bar, because coffee is grown there in Costa Rica. I don't drink it, but my wife says it's some of the best coffee in the world. Anyhow, because in Costa Rica, you can't take a job from a Tico, so you can't go down there and get a job. You have to create a job. We'll get into that later. Coast fire. The coast is when the individual have enough money saved for retirement, but they still want to work to cover the day-to-day expenses. So I guess you're trying to use what you have in the bank to cover the big expenses, and then you work to cover utilities and things like that. Like I said, you're going to have to go through these and figure out where you can get in, where you fit in, and figure out what you want to do. When me and my wife decided to fire, our goal was to retire. Well, I don't know, but somehow she came up with a number of $5,000 a month to retire with. That was back in 2002. And we were going to fire and retire. We were not going to work. That was the whole point. We refused to have to go back to work. So when I retired in 2011, that was it. And I haven't worked since. That was our plan. That was our goal. We had everything set up, our mutual funds, our TSP from the government, the retirement, Everything, all of our dividend stocks and everything, all of our investments had to be a minimum of $5,000. So when it was time to move, there was no issue. Okay, let's continue on. So again, look over the different types, see, get in where you fit in, and just, you have to decide now, what's your goal? Do you want to be 100% retired and do nothing but your hobbies? Okay, now it's time for your plan of attack. First thing you have to decide is your location. Now you can start out with a multitude of locations. You can pick maybe 3 locations, because having more than that is going to be a lot of time consumption for you trying to, keep track of what's going on, because there's a lot of things you have to take into account. Again, this has one of the biggest impacts on your budget. Fire in the United States is not the same as overseas. And what I mean by that, for me to retire here in Texas was totally different from us retiring and moving to Costa Rica. Because my house note here was a whole lot more than the condo we lived in Costa Rica. We had a 4-bedroom, 3.5 bath condo for $1,000 a month in Costa Rica. No heat, no air conditioning. Didn't need it. It was 75 degrees every single day the whole time we were there. Besides for when it rained, it get a little bit cool. Anyhow, so now you need to make the decisions as early as possible in order to fine tune your budget requirements, because depending on the location you pick is going to be a great factor in the how much income you're going to need. And a good example, if you take somebody that lives in Texas and you compare them to somebody that lives in Los Angeles or somebody that lives in New York City, it's going to be a whole lot more expensive living in those other 2 locations than living here in Texas. So you need to figure out that as well. Now, you can always adjust accordingly like the legends do. You can also pick a more expensive location to start with. Then it's easier to move to a less expensive one as compared to changing from to a more expensive one. So say you say, well, I'm going to go to Costa Rica, sounds good. Then all of a sudden you want to go to Dubai is a good example. So your $2,500 budget in Costa Rica may need to be $5,000 budget in Dubai. I'm just using that as an example. So again, if the location is going to be more expensive than what you already had originally chosen, it may alter your fire date, because you may need to work or invest a little bit more time in order to go to that other location. So again, location. And you being a single person, you can adjust. Good example, when right before the pandemic hit, our son was getting ready to go to 6th grade. And my wife and I was sitting in and we were discussing relocating again. So my plan of attack was going to go spend a year in Aruba, a year in Bonaire, and a year in Curacao. Then come back to the United States in 2023 when it's time for our youngest to start high school. Of course, the pandemic destroyed all that because we couldn't follow through with our plans. But what I'm saying is there's so many different options out there. And the reason we had picked those locations is because when we visited Aruba, oh my goodness, Aruba has some of the most beautiful beaches. It was just like white. You could go out like a mile in the water and it still only be up to your chest. It was just beautiful. Then my wife fell in love with Curacao. So we was like, you know what? We can put our son in school online because the other 2 are already out. I said, let's do this. And that was our plan until the pandemic hit. Anyhow, let me continue. Your fire date. Now, you already say, we're going to use just Costa Rica as an example. You already said, I want to go to Costa Rica. Or for the crypto folks, we'll say El Salvador. So you pick your location. Now you need to pick a fire date. If you have a certain job that requires you to be a certain amount of time there for you to get your retirement out or your 401k out. So there's a lot of factors you have to take into account. So we'll just use me for an example. So say somebody that they're at their 10-year mark in the military or within the Air Force. So they got 10 more years. So they won't be able to retire until 2033. So they already know they have 10 years, but they saying, you know what, I can take an early retirement and go earlier. So there's so many things you have to figure out. So once you set your date and now you have your location, that's what you're going to work with. By 2033, you need to be able to have this type of income to live this type of lifestyle. So now that you have to set your tentative date, now you're ready to fire. Ensure you give ample time to prep and ensure all parts of your plan come together. Of course, the dates are fluid, but the date is required to devise your plan of action. You can't just say, excuse me, I'm going to go fire when I get there. You need a date. You want the date. It's almost like having a vision board. You want that date there so you know where you're starting from and where you're ending at. Now, once you decide, then you can add in factors that can alter your chosen date. Income. If you haven't paid off some debt, you still have a car note come 2033. See, but having that date, you know that the final date 6 months out from when you're ready to fire, all of your debts need to be paid. That's the kind of things you have to figure out now. Income requirements. Now you know your location, you have your tentative date set. Now you need to figure out how much income you're going to need for that particular location. And then you want to definitely have to account for inflation, and you want to adjust the numbers every couple of months, the closer you get to your date, to make sure that you have enough. Because if you know you need $2,500 now, 10 years from now, it may be a whole lot more. It may be $5,000 a month. Then you need to also ask yourself, how sustainable are your streams of income? Are you going to need to move your funds to be in a more stable location? So say you're in a risky investment and then the stock market crashes, boom, then what happens to your income stream? Now, if your dividends, if you pick good dividend paying stocks, then normally they won't reduce dramatically their dividends. And then also, because the thing is that you want peace of mind with your money, that it's in the right place at the right time and still growing and taking care of you. The last thing you want to do is already had fired for a couple of years and then have to go back to work. Not that it's a big dramatic thing, but that's not what you had planned. So you always plan accordingly. And always remember my saying, people don't plan to fail, they just fail to plan. Okay, so now we already went over the location. We already got your date. And now we have the income requirements. Now, this is a really, really big factor in that is your health care and your insurance. Because if you're out here and you're one of them adventure people and you're jumping out of planes and you're mountain climbing and you're bicycling or you're hiking and you get hurt and you don't have the proper coverage, that could just wipe out your entire adventure. Because now you have mounting medical bills. You can't get proper care. And then you can't go back to regular work because you're really hurt bad. It's just, you need to have the proper coverage from day one. Like it says here, ensure that you have some type of health coverage for yourself based on your health at the time of the fire date. You want to get the right type of coverage based on where you plan to spend your time. Like when we was in Costa Rica, they had CAHA. If you saw the other videos, the other MP, and I was talking about the CAHA, that's was Costa Rica's medical program. Even though my son was born there, me and my wife and my daughter and son, we could only become a resident. We're not citizens like he is. He has dual citizenship. So with the CAHA, we had to pay like $30 a month for CAHA, and that's their medical program. That was all the medicines and whatever to be seen. The only thing is that it was sort of slow. Like if I needed an x-ray, it was like 2 to 3 weeks to get an x-ray. So of course I used my military retirement, my TRICARE, and we get in there a lot quicker. So there's things that you have to take into account. And you want a good policy. Don't be being cheap on your policy. You want great health care because this is your health. There is nothing more important except for time than having your health. The last thing you want to do is get sick and then don't have enough health care or the proper coverage to go get seen and get your medications. Believe me, you want it. In a good example, we had Dr. C. He was our doctor in Heredia. When there was an issue, if I didn't feel good in the morning, he's like, oh, hey, Mike, all right, come on in this afternoon. Or if one of the kids was not feeling good, he's like, oh, Mike, bring him in after school. That's the kind of healthcare. Dr. C give me the prescription. He'd call it in and we go pick it up. And it was just like that. And then he'd bill TRICARE. It's really, really important to have great healthcare. And they had some of the best hospitals in the world. Oh, my God. There was a brand new one that was built in Heredia. Like I said, my son was born there in San Jose. They had the best food. I think we paid a total of $25 a day for the 2 days we were there in the hospital when our son was born there in 2009. The food was outstanding. We were able to sleep in the room with my wife. It was great. Anyhow, so next thing, like I said, you want to purchase the right type of coverage. Then you want to purchase waivers and riders to cover serious medical issues that may arise, like if you break your leg, if something happens and you're in a different location and you need to get transported by a helicopter or something like that, or sent back to the States for it, you need to have that coverage in there. Like I said, you don't want it to wipe all your savings out. And like I said, this is especially necessary if you're going to be traveling, and the coverage needs to be mobile with you. So if you're living in Costa Rica and you say, well, I want to go to Panama, or I want to go to Venezuela and visit Angel Falls, the tallest waterfall in the world, that you need to be able to be covered wherever you are. And at the bottom here, so the younger you get your health insurance and your life insurance, the cheaper it normally is. That should be cheaper. So if your life insurance, you can get that part now, because life insurance should cover you no matter what, because that's based on you dying. But once, like I said, once you get that location, then you need to start looking at the different types of insurance that's going to cover you, and especially based on your lifestyle. Now, if you're going to have a sedentary lifestyle, you're just going to be hanging out at the beach. That's different for somebody that's going to be skydiving all the time, or mountain biking all the time, or hiking all the time. You have to plan for that. Okay, so now we got our location, we have our date, we have our income requirements, and we've talked about the healthcare insurance. Now we have our budget. Now, this is a single person budget. Like I say, it's going to be different depending on where you decide to retire. So, good example, this budget is pretty much close to what we had in Costa Rica, except for the rent. Our rent was $1,000. Now, food was a lot higher because it was me, my wife, and 3 kids at the time. So I was spending like $700 a month on food. Dining out, unless you was eating like McDonald's, they had McDonald's. We had Wendy's, we had Burger King, we had, what else did we have down there? We had Outback Steakhouse and stuff like that. So, and Pops, the Pops ice cream, that's a whole nother video series. So, of course, and you want to fine tune this as time evolves too, as you get closer and closer. So we just use the numbers that I have here. So rent, we have $750, food $250, dining out each month, or that would be almost like $25 a week. It's going to be depending on where you are. If you're in the Philippines or you go somewhere like Thailand and retire or something, it's going to be really cheap. Food, the electric. Like I said, we didn't have heat or air conditioning there in Costa Rica. All we had was a fan. And then we had cable. The water bill was like $10. Cable was about $50. Cell phone, and that's going to be just depending on how fancy you want to get with the coverage. Gas, now gas was like $4 a liter there. Like I say, only the United States still based on gallons. And I have a Suburban, so we spent more than this because we would go to our beach house that we have each weekend after the kids got out of school. And of course, like we drove, insurance for your car, that right about $100, and it's going to be dependent on your car. That's a whole nother video too, that you have to, maintenance on your auto. You need to put something aside. You got to still have oil changes, and you still got to have maintenance done on your vehicle. Matter of fact, you may not even need that. If you're in your desired location, you could get a scooter. You could always do Uber. You can always have a driver. So there's different avenues and different ways that you can alternate and adapt to that. Emergency account. Like I say, if things happen and you need to get home all of a sudden, you don't want to have to tap into your reserves. Hey, your parents are sick, somebody's sick or something, and you need to get home. Bam, it's there. You want to travel. I don't know who wants to be in a location and don't travel. Yeah, granted, we lived in Costa Rica, and we only left Costa Rica maybe twice. We went home to see my mom in New York, and then when my daughter graduated Air Force basic training, we came then in 2013. Those are the only 2 times we left Costa Rica, because Costa Rica had everything. We have mountains, we got volcanoes, active volcanoes. We have some that are dormant that still only has the sulfur and stuff. We had this on the amusement park. Oh my God, we had mountains, we had the rainforest, we had the beaches, it was just so much to do there, and that's why we picked the location, because we just fell in love with the location. That was the first place we went zip lining. Anyhow, let's continue. So traveling. So then in Costa Rica, you may want to go to Nicaragua, may want to go to Panama, you want to go to Colombia, you want to go to the Galapagos. It's just so many different places to see and so many things to do. And shopping. You want to get trinkets and send them home or whatever. Just this type of shopping is just, knickknacks. You're decorating, or you see a pot that you want to get or a picture you want to hang on your wall, then pick it up. Gym membership. Like I said, you want to take care of your health. Don't want to get there and just blow up and just let your health deteriorate. You want to enjoy life to the fullest, especially if you're going to be jumping out of planes and hiking and stuff. You want to stay healthy, so you want to still work out. Then, of course, here's your hobby. And if your hobby is woodworking, here you go. Or you want to work on cars, use that fund. So anyhow, so the total of that is $2,075 a month. Boom. Now you have your budget set. Like I said, as closer and closer you get, you're going to start fine tuning this. And we'll discuss this later on. Now you got to figure out where the money is going to come from. Like they say, the millionaires always have 7 streams of income. So now you've been doing what you're supposed to be doing. You've been planning accordingly. So now you have your dividend stocks. You have your drip accounts paying you your 1%. You have your business that you had here. You decided to sell it, or you decided to bring on a partner and you just received some residual income. Boom. Remember the cash flow quadrant. You also have your investment in the animal farm pools, the animal farm farms. You have money coming out of the pig pen. You got BUSD coming in every single day. Now you're not going to pull it out. You'll pull it out at the end of the month, whatever you need. And if it's sitting there, if you don't need it, take that and buy some more pigs to generate more income the following month. Your legends already know the COPs. You know how that works. And then, like I said, your stream number 7, extras can always help. You're not going to complain if you have too many income streams coming in, especially if they're solid. Now, we're going to get into your debt. Now, granted on here, you have to just decide if you see you only need $2,000. So technically you shouldn't have no problem with getting $2,000 a month out of these 7 income streams. Now, we're going to discuss the debt. How much debt do you have right now? And how much debt will you have in 2033 when you're ready to fire? Have you devised your plan of attack in order to tackle it? If you make sure that your car note is paid, will you pay off your mortgage, or are you going to just rent the house out and let somebody else pay it? Your goal is to eliminate credit card debt, auto debt, installment loans, your MasterCard, Visa, everything like that. You can either use the snowball method, pay off the small balances first, or use the avalanche method and just pay off the highest interest first. But the debt will haunt you. It can throw a wrench in all of your plans, because you don't want to go into fire mode and still have all these debts hanging over you and you're still using income for that. Then inflation kicks in and the recession kicks in, and it's just so many other factors. And just going in with peace of mind. Like when we went to Costa Rica, the only thing we had was our house in Arizona. That's all we had. Well, we had our house here in Texas that was already rented out. Okay, another thing. Now you're a single person. Your lifestyle, you're fired. What will you do with your time? Community service. You can always give back, help Habitat for Humanity. You can always, there's so many different things you can do. You can teach English wherever you are, for the people that have English as a second language. Are you going to work part-time? If you're going to work part-time, that's going to be dependent on the location too. Like I said, I could not move to Costa Rica and work and take a job. Say I was a mechanic and I wanted to work at an auto shop down there. I could not do it. Now I could open up a mechanic and do that as the owner, but I could not do that and go take a job from them. So there's a lot of factors that you have to take into account. Or you're going to work from home. Now, if you do things online, design websites online, you're good to go. You're good to go. Options. Legends always have options. Now, your hobbies. Are you going to be hiking, reading all day? You're going to, excuse me, you're going to write books, bicycle, you're going to cycle. You're going to hang out at the beach. You're going to have adventure. You're going to go to the rainforest. What are you going to do? Do you bird watch? Are you a photographer? My wife was huge into photography at the time. Some of the most amazing pictures. I'm going to put some pictures up on one of the daily dispatches. And you need to start thinking about what you want to do. Now, ours was a little bit different because our kids were still in school. When we were in Costa Rica, we had one in high school, because our daughter graduated high school in Costa Rica, and my middle son was in 4th, 5th, and 6th grade there, something like that. Or you're going to be traveling all over. You can pick a location that's centrally located. Now, granted, if I'm living in Costa Rica, if I want to travel all the way over to Spain, living in Costa Rica and Central America is great for Central America and South America travel. So now remember, you're single, so you can always relocate. Say, no, I want to explore Europe. So then you can relocate over to Portugal or relocate over to Spain. Then you can travel in Europe. Like I said, when we lived in Germany, we went everywhere, to Egypt. Oh my God, many times we went to Paris. How many times we went to the Notre Dame Cathedral? How many times the Eiffel Tower? How many, 3 or 4 times to Euro Disney? It's just, you base it on where you want to go. Now, I know there's a family that I follow on Instagram, and what they do, they relocate every 90 days. They stay there as long as the visa is good. So they get there today, they stay there 90 days, then relocate to another location. That's the things you can do when you're fire mode. Just imagine living 90 days here. So we'll just use Central America. You live 90 days, and we'll start at the top. We'll just say Guatemala. Then you go 90 days to Nicaragua, 90 days to Costa Rica, 90 days to Panama. Then you go down to 90 days in Colombia, 90 days in Ecuador, 90 days in Paraguay. You just live the lifestyle you want to lead. And it's not the same as just visiting for a couple of days. You're going to be there 90 days. Yeah, I tell you, life is great when you're doing it on your terms. Okay, now, firefighter. These are 4 different calculators that you have at your disposal to help you with planning your fire and retirement calculator and figuring out the money and all that kind of stuff. So I will have all the links in the description. All you have to do is click, put your numbers in, and they will assist you in coming up with your numbers. But that's not all. Stand by. Now, we're in our secret classified information for legends only. If you're not a legend, please end the video right now. Okay, now, since I only have the legends in the room, let's discuss this. First thing, always remember and never forget, you are a legend and you act legendarily. Number 2, you have many, many options that a lot of people don't have or even know about. You have the MP series, you have the Fire series, you have the What Ifs, and the What's Next. And you have Drip and the Animal Farm at your disposal. You have the ability to create multiple streams of income with just Drip and the Animal Farm. We already know that. The only way that you will not fire is if you choose not to. You don't have to adhere to strict rules like the normal fire movers. Meaning, your income, your debt, your location can all be truly personalized for you. So now you need to devise your strategies, devise your plans, devise your goals, and create your COPs to have your income streams coming in. Invest legendarily. Invest patiently. And remember, you're investing long term. We're not trying to get them quick returns and then, this company's gone or this protocol's rug pulled and now you're out of your money. Now it's messed up your fire date. No. No fast money, no get rich quick. It can derail your entire plan. Use the MP series to set you up to get ready, to aim, and then to fire. Use the Fire series to do what you have to do so you can do what you want to do. All right. Now, here's some questions that legendary questions that you need to answer along with the location and your date and everything else and the income requirements. You already have your date, your budget, and your income streams. Now, in reference to your location, you need to keep aware of the CBDCs. Say you were going to go to Nigeria. We already know what's going on with Nigeria. They're limiting their citizens to $45 a day, or you have to use the CBDCs. How are they going to tax your cryptos? The pros and the cons. So these are the things that I need you to start thinking about when you pick your location. Again, in reference to location, the travel. Are you located close to the places that you want to visit? Like I just said, if you want to be visiting Central and South America, then try staying here first. If you want to go over to Europe, there. If you want to go all the way over to the Far East, go over that way. If you want to be in Dubai, in the Middle East, then go over there. Okay. And location, of course, you want the freedom to do what you want to do. When we lived in Costa Rica, we didn't have no stipulations. We came and go as we chose. I mean, there's a little bit things that are different when it comes to the kids because they try to fight human trafficking. So even when I traveled with my son, I had to have a piece of paper that was stamped by at the airport showing that, yes, it's my son and I can take him out of the country. But like I said, that's going to be dependent on where you are. Now, in reference to your budget, Do you have enough income coming in? Be realistic. Overstate your requirements. So if you know you need $750 a month for rent, go ahead and put $1,000 in there. Put $1,500 in there. Like I said, you'd rather have too much than not enough. Another one in your budget. Are your income stream flows strong enough to see you through your fire mode? If you're going to retire early at 35, 40 years old, and you need that to last you to 40, 50 years, you need to make sure that they're strong. Even if you need to make the money in the faucet, put it into the animal farm, and then move it into some dividend stocks, do what you need to do. You have options. Again, to your budget. Are you well diversified to fight inflation, the recession, the pandemic? All those things are going on right now. We just went through the pandemic. We're going into the recession, and inflation is here. Okay, then your budget. Again, you want to have a POC, which is a personal contact in that desired location to fine-tune your numbers. Having somebody with boots on the ground in Costa Rica was really, really helpful to us. But we had traveled there so many times before we decided to go there in 2011, so it was different. But we had people there, so we knew exactly how much it cost for food, how much it was for the rent, and everything like that. So if you have somebody in your location, you talk to them regularly, even if it's every couple of months or whatever. Hey, this is what's the going rate for rent. This is how much the electricity went up. This is what a gallon of gas is, so you can fine-tune your numbers. Now, in reference to debt, can you pay it off in the amount of time for the date that you have set? If you know you're going to retire in and if you're going to fire in 2033, don't be going out here. Do you really, okay, let me rephrase that. Do you really want to get into a 30-year mortgage? Do you even want to buy a house if you know you're not going to end up staying here? So there's decisions you have to make. Okay, so now saying that you're going to retire in 2025 and fire in 2025, do you want to go out and get a 3-year, 5-year car note? These are things you have to take into account for. You have to be thinking and be cognizant of what you're doing. Again, with the insurance, these last two, do you have enough insurance and the deductible? Like I said, don't be going out here trying to be cheap on the insurance. Yeah, it's one of those necessary evils, but you need it because you never know what can happen. And the last thing you want to do is get out here, be in the middle of your fire mode, and then something happens, and now you have $1 million or hundreds of thousands of dollars in medical bills, and you have to go back to work. And then you want, like I said, you want the insurance to be movable and flow with you. It moves as you move. All right. Bam. This is a great, great, great tool. I've used this thing, oh my God, for years. My daughter has it, my son has it. This is your financial statement. The link will be in the description. Now here, this is from Rich Dad Poor Dad. So top here is the income. You're going to put all your income in here. Your earned income, if you're working now, passive income, portfolio income. So for us, our passive income, you're going to add in here drip, animal farm, whatever. And you're going to have your total income. But so you need one for now and then one for retirement. So you're going to have two different spreadsheets because you're going to have different money, different expenses now than what you're going to have when you retire or when you fire. So you're going to need two spreadsheets. So you're going to, like I was saying, so in this one, you're going to have earned income. In your second one for your fire location, it won't be there. It's going to be passive and portfolio. That's where all your income is going to come for you to generate your money. Same thing with all the taxes and all this other stuff in here, car loans, credit cards, school loans, all that won't be in there. So you just delete those options. And it's going to tell you at the bottom how, your expenses minus your income and how, your really your net worth. So again, use the tool. It's great. Now, like I said, this is classified only for the legends only. That's why everything got these classified stamps on there. Okay, the legends. Now, and again, that financial statement is going to show where you are financially today and use as a guide to see where you need to get to. Be honest with the numbers. Don't be fudging the numbers. If you know you only make $1,000 a week, don't be putting $1,200 a week and messing up your numbers. And like I say, your numbers that you're going to have in the second one are going to be based on your location, and they're going to change over time. If there's 10 years before you fire, the expenses now may be $1,000, but that same apartment may be $2,000 a month. So adjust accordingly. And again, be honest with the numbers. This only benefits you. This is one of the most important documents along with your 3 Bureau credit report and scores that a person has. That's everything. All right. Now, we discussed being a single person and firing. We went over the different fire types. We went over the coast fire. We talked about the budgeting, investing in your income and your multiple streams of income. We discussed, excuse me, dealing with the debt, your lifestyle, income requirements, setting your fire date, setting your desired location. We went over the healthcare and coverage, and we discussed the financial statement. Now, as always, this is for informational, educational purposes only. This is never intended as any type of financial advice because I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just sharing some information with the legends. And always remember the three. Crypto is an individual endeavor, so always do what's best for you, your family, and your family's finances. Number two, we have the best development department ran by the mastermind in all of crypto. We have the best community in all of crypto. And number three, increase your knowledge, reduce your risk. Use the MPs, use the FIRE series to broaden your knowledge. The legends have a growth mindset. Use it and continue to always learn something new every day. If you have the opportunity to fire, why would you not want to? Even if you didn't relocate to another place and you just stayed here in the United States, the ability to drop your kids off every day and to pick them up from school, to catch every single football game, every single ballet concert, every single softball game. That is what life is all about. Making memories and enjoying experiences. Travel when you want, on your terms. No, you don't have to wait to take vacation from your job. Oh, let's go. Let's go on a Virgin Atlantic cruise. Boom. That's what you want. Anyhow, so legends, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for listening. Legends, I do what I do for you. To all of my legends, engage.